Enjoy your meeting.
few more seconds.
Just a reminder, today's meeting is being recorded.
Hello and welcome to our Wednesday Wisdom Call with Heather Lalone. Today is October 28th, 2015. I'm super excited about this call, guys, because, and I'm Andrea Lehman. Hello. Super excited about this call because Heather Lalone was the very first business builder on my team when I decided 3 years and 2 months ago that I was really going to go for this. And it's interesting what happens when you shift and make decisions that you're doing something instead of just kind of going around oh, it'd be nice if it worked out. But when you make a decision that something is going to happen, it's really interesting how things just kind of show up in your life. And it's like, hey, God, thank you for that. So Heather Lalone, so here's the story. When it was a hobby for me, I did an expo, and a woman came through the expo, and she created an account, and then, a year or 2 years, I don't even know how long after it was that she had her account, she said to her friend who was looking for a job, hey, you might, be interested in these essential oils. And so literally on my way home from the convention where I made the decision that I was going to build this business, I get a phone call from this girl who says, hey, one of my friends is interested in meeting with you about the Young Living business. And I'll tell you, my jaw dropped to the floor because up until that point, nobody had really said, hey, tell me about this Young Living business. And so, it was really cool. So we met up at a coffee shop. And, of course, she was adorable, like first-year teacher. 22, 23 years old, and wanted to build this business. I was like, yay, I have my first business builder. You guys all know that feeling. If you are new at this, when somebody shows interest in wanting to build with you, it's like, oh, happy days. You're all excited, jumping up and down. So that's how I was. So like I said, this is a little over 3 years ago. Heather, it is absolutely phenomenal to see what has happened in Heather in the last little over 3 years as she has grown this business. She will tell you more about that. Just excited to dive into this call. And some of you who saw her post a couple days ago, she apparently has some secret to let us in on. So I don't know, are we going to save that till the end?
It has to do with one of the questions.
Oh, it has to do with one of the questions. Okay, awesome. So we will just go ahead and get started. Heather, why don't you just, first of all, just share with us a little bit about your journey in general growing this business.
Okay, basically, so the girl who introduced me was Katrina, and when she kind of told me about the oils, and I was never really that interested, especially when she said you have to pay $40, so she's like, oh, you could have a party. At first, it was kind of intimidating, but then I got to the point where I was, pretty much desperate for a second job, but I didn't want something that would take up my entire weekend. And I was getting more and more natural. I became vegan, and I was using natural cleaning products, and I was looking to switch on my medicine cabinet, and I was literally driving to go hang out with her, and the oils popped into my head somehow, oh, I could use those and do the business. I'm going to talk to her about it today. And I did talk to her about it today, and I think I bought my kit that night. And then she talked to Andrea. So it was a pretty snap decision, oh, we're going to do this. So, and it has just been crazy since just, because I was, when I first started, I was so different. I was 24, I had just, I don't know.
You were 24?
Yeah.
You looked like you were 18.
I know. But yeah, it was crazy, so.
Okay, awesome. So why don't you tell us what have been, people always seem to connect with people's struggles because it helps them to see that this is real and that other people struggle too. It's not all, roses and sunshine and bunny rabbits and rainbows. So why don't you share with us a couple of your struggles that you've had along the way?
Okay, so a couple of my struggles. So one was, like I said, I was Andrea's pretty much first business builder, and so I was the only one that I really knew besides Andrea building this sort of business. I was the only 20-something young person doing a network marketing business, which I thought was for ladies in their 30s and 40s with Mary Kay bags.
For us old people.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's Terry and Mary Kay bags.
Yeah, that was totally you. No, I'm kidding.
Go ahead.
But you know what I mean? I was the only person I knew of my demographic who was doing that. And so, but I was kind of screw screw it, I don't care. Like, if Melissa Pepping could do it, I can do it, because I was, like, all about her. And so, of course, what is the first thing I did? I called all my friends and told them about this awesome business I'm doing, how they should totally do it with me, and guess what? They all said no. And so then I was like, crap, I'm out of people. Like, this sucks. But, because I had no idea what I was doing back then. So the thing that I posted on Facebook, so here's what I did. Well, some of you know the first half, but the second half you don't know. So I think a week after I started building, I sent Andrea this very extensive business plan of how I was going to make Crown Diamond in a year. And it had colors and bubbles and webs. It was on PowerPoint.
She was ambitious.
And it basically had me making silver in May, and it was November. And so I had my people, my 5 people who are going to build this with me, and one of them, her name was Mary. And how I introduced the business to her was I showed her not only the business plan I made for myself, but the business plan that I made for her, and how she was going to make senior star in 2 months and make this much money, and she's going to make executive this month, and this many months. And remember, we were in our grad school class because we always sat next to each other. We had our computers out, and I was showing her all that stuff. And she just looked at me her jaw dropped. She was like, this is crazy. This is not going to work. She's like, I found frankincense on Google for $30 and it's from Oman. And she was just basically it was oh heck no. So, and after that, I had been that ignorant, excited person. After that, I totally took that to heart and was scared to talk to people for a year and a half because of that one experience. And I can pin it, I remember how I felt. It was oh man, I need rejection. Yeah. I was I have to learn how to do this. I have to change something. I said to my, because as she was saying that to me, I was this has to work. This has to work. I have to do something about this. And so that's what really got me going on my personal development. I was okay, I gotta learn some stuff. So
okay. So then what happened next?
So then I just kept plugging in, just paying attention to how you did stuff and Melissa Pepping did stuff and Adam Green did stuff, and I just kept listening and I kept doing it, thinking, okay, if it works for them and they're this rank, it works for me. So I just started doing it, and then I knew that I had a fear issue because of that experience, and I just listened to as many stuff as I could to get over that, so I could talk to the people that I needed to talk to, and I could build my business, because this was literally my only hope. I didn't want to do anything else. There was no way. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I've never heard that story about Mary, you showing her plan. Oh, shoot, that's so funny. Okay, so let's go on. Tell us a couple things that you've learned along the way.
A couple things that I've learned.
1 or 2 things you've learned in growing this business.
I've learned that it's not about you.
So talk about that a little bit.
I've learned that the more you make it about the other person, the better results you get. And even if you're fearful and you're worrying about what they're going to think of you, then that means you're still thinking about you. So if you truly put your focus on the other person and come out with a detached, I don't care attitude, I don't care if you say yes or no, then that's helped tremendously. So another thing is consistency. Just whatever you do, just be consistent. When I was teaching, I was only working 10 hours a week, but what I did was pretty consistent, and so I think that was a huge piece, I guess. So.
Consistency, totally huge. I mean, you look at that, I know that was one of the factors for me the first 5 years of not really growing, was that nothing was consistent. I was lucky if I did 1 class a month, or 1 meetup with somebody a month. It was usually every other month or so I would do something. There was no consistency in my actions, and definitely no consistency in income producing activities, things like prospecting and inviting people to take a look and sharing with them about the oils or the business and following up with them and helping them get started and promoting events. A lot of it was, for me, you were different because I'd learned by this time, but for me it was a lot of looking up the different oils and what were the constituents in the oils and what did those constituents do. And so it was a lot of non-income producing activities that I did in the early years. So huge consistency. Anything else on that? Anything you've learned?
I've learned that, like, okay, so after that big experience, like, I've learned, so I've tried to, like, get over fear, but I've learned that you can't really, like, get over fear. I listened to a really, really good interview, like, yesterday or the other day with Elizabeth Gilbert and Marie Forleo, and I loved her analogy of it. It was like, you know, fear is always going to be there, but it's in the back seat of the car. Like, it's not driving. It's not choosing the songs on the radio. It's not taking the snacks, but it's always just kind of back there. And as long as it's not the one driving, you're fine. And so, like, that's, you know, that's kind of how me get over that mentality. Like, okay, if I'm always going to be fearful, doesn't mean I shouldn't do it. And to not be afraid of failure. Like, I don't know how many of you are like this or like me, but I would always, if I knew something wasn't going to be totally right, like, I would just not do it. Like, if I knew I would choke when I talked to somebody, I just would rather not talk to them. But I've learned to just embrace your failure and actually be excited when you fail, because that means you're one step closer to going where you need to be. Like, the only way you learn is to actually fail. So that was huge for me, too, and learning that as far as just doing the consistent income-producing actions go. Because if you think about it, they're not hard. Like, all the stuff we have to do is not hard. It just takes guts, you know? And so, but the more you just live with that, to know that, yeah, you might fail. Yeah, it might feel scary, but if you do it anyway, you're going to get what you want. That was huge for me.
Sage advice, girl. Really good advice. And the fear piece, because I think that that's something, especially in the beginning of business, that a lot of people struggle with is working through those fears. Because it's not comfortable. It's not comfortable when we're afraid to do something anyway. But I like that analogy of fear being in the back seat, just not letting it drive. I also like, it was in the book, The Big Leap, where they talk about if you just breathe through your fear, and that's excitement. You know, you can go to a meetup with somebody, you know, you're going to share the business with them, and you're just, you know, your heart's racing and you're just feeling super nervous. But you just keep breathing and you keep saying, hey, I've got this. This is how I learn. This is how I learn. You're going to be fine. You're totally going to be fine. So that's great advice for people in the beginning of their business. But even several years in, there's times, you know, speaking in front of a group or different scenarios where I feel super nervous. But the breathing piece for me has helped a lot. And now that I have that analogy of the car, that's awesome. I love that. Okay, anything else that you've learned, or should we go on?
We can go on.
Okay, so you just got back from a First Steps to Success, and it was not your first Danny Johnson event.
No.
Tell us a little bit about that and why you chose to prioritize these events.
I just prioritized it because, like I said before, like, I knew, like, the actions to do the business are actually easy, but what keeps you from doing them is a personal development issue, whether it's, like, structuring time or getting over fear or talking to people, whatever it is. All the stuff that keeps you from actually doing it is a personal growth issue. And so I went, and yeah, I had great results after my first time, but I came to realize that if you're not growing, you're actually moving backwards. And I wanted to keep moving forwards, and so that's why I've chosen to keep going. So, yeah.
And you feel like you've gotten stuff out of each event?
I get new stuff every time, and I don't know, like, how you guys are, but I'm the type of person where I need to hear something 8 times before I actually do it. And I can go to one First Step seminar and implement, like, 2 or 3 things, but guess what? If I go another one, I implement 2 more things and more things, and my goal is to actually master that information. So.
And you think about, these are the kind of events where you make decisions that change your life in powerful ways. And I've seen so much growth and change in you just in the last couple of years. You went to your first event in January of 2014. So it's been, what, a year and 10 months of you consistently going and learning and growing and changing. So it's super exciting to see. So just a recommendation for those of you who are growing businesses. I know that Heather would highly recommend, and I would highly recommend that you get to a First Steps to Success. Well, there's no more this year, but this coming year, 2016, find a First Steps to Success to go to, because it is a very powerful event. I've been to 6 events since I started going, 6 or 7, and yeah, hugely, hugely powerful in changing not just business, but family and finances and relationship to God, everything. Just a super powerful thing to go to. So highly recommend that if you didn't catch that.
The next one is January 16th through 18th in Orlando, Florida.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Okay. So tell us, Heather, what are you most excited for on this journey?
I'm most excited that I like designing my own day now, and I feel like I'm finally getting the hang of like my schedule now that I'm full-time on this. And
oh yes, because for those of you that didn't know this, Heather just resigned in May from teaching. She retired, resigned, quit, whatever you want to call it. So this is her full-time / part-time gig now. So okay, talk a little bit more.
I'm excited about that. I'm excited to just pursue things I've like wanted to pursue, like playing more instruments. I'm gonna start a school for at-risk kids, and when my knee is fully better, I'm just gonna enjoy the outdoors, volunteer in my community. I'm just really loving this whole being the CEO of my own day thing. So it's just
CEO of your own day.
pretty
So
exciting.
nice. It is. It's really awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, and then before we end, any tips that you have for new business builders?
Don't be afraid to invest in your business and invest in yourself. Like when I paid for my first steps to success, not that I like recommend this, but I didn't have any money in my checking account. I paid for it all on my credit card because it was like, just even if you don't like think you have it, just invest in your business because it will pay off. And it's like something if you buy like a CD for $50 versus you get it for free from your friend, what are you going to value more? What are you going to use more? Like if you invest into something like a business, you know you're going to put a lot of effort into it if you have stuff on the line. So don't be afraid to just go full in and invest like it's a business. So that was probably like the thing that helped me the most.
Okay, so invest in your business, invest in yourself. I've heard it said, and maybe it's Danny Johnson that says it, that the best investment that you can make is in yourself, right? It doesn't return void. Awesome. Anything else? One more tip for new business builders.
New business builders. Let's see. New business builders. If you are just starting out, just keep in close contact with your upline, with your sponsor. Just, every couple days, just like check in with them if they're not checking with you, and just like let them know what you're doing, let them know how you're doing, and just the closer relationship you can build with them, the better, because that's what's going to keep you going. And if you ever feel like you're going to quit, don't be afraid to call them, because that's what they're there for. So yeah.
And I've heard it said, don't ever quit on a bad day. If you're going to quit, quit on a good day. So, Heather, thank you so much for being on this call. It's been fun. Heather and I are sitting next to each other because we're getting ready to set up for beauty school in just a little bit here. So this is my first Wednesday Wisdom call actually being in the same room as the person being interviewed. So a lot of fun. I hope you guys got a lot out of this call. I know that I picked up some stuff, and if you would, go back to the page, the Facebook event page, and put a note down for Heather, something that you got out of the call today. And we'll post the link as soon as that's available so that you can share this with other people on your team. Thank you, and have a great evening.
Thanks, guys. Cool.